How's it going, YouTube? This is Daniel Moffat with Moffat Atomics, and today we're going to be taking a look at, well, my favorite cactus. My cat recently brushed up against it a little too hard, and it's a tall cactus. If you take a look here, it's just about up to my eyeballs. It's an indoor cactus. One of my mom's neighbors gave it to me. Real nice old guy. And I've just tried to take care of it ever since. And it's done all kinds of wacky things. Like its arm is bent in over here. But recently, it lost a little bit of its splendor. It had kind of a wonky center of gravity. And you can tell here that it's kind of just... It was leaning up against this wall, but then my cat hit it a little too hard, and it had been able to stay up under its own weight, but I guess gravity just finally won out. It had another, see that dried pad right there? It had that attached right there, and it had just let that go. So this might be the whole organism deciding that it just doesn't... Maybe it's assuming there's dirt right here, and so it let it go, assuming that it would be able to start a new colony. This could be some kind of like intentional behavior, because it wasn't wounded, and they can heal from wounds. Like you see this big scratch right here. Rusty had dragged his claw all the way down it, and it actually helped open the cactus up, and it grew bigger at the base because of that. So these cactuses have a really... There's water coming out of the wound right here. It's just happened. I've been meaning to make a video about this cactus, but I didn't realize it was going to be a surgery video. So let's see. Let's bring the camera in a little bit here, and let's try to get a good look. Got the handy dandy Cuisinart wavy blade. So we're gonna be using that. So... And I'm not really entirely sure what species of cactus this is. Some kind of Optunia. But yeah, it grew next to my mother's house in southeast Austin. And it had done really well for years. The cactus it came off of was probably 5 or 6 feet taller than me and quite splendid. But snowpocalypse came. Rusty. Snowpocalypse came around, and this cactus, while lots of species are, this cactus is not cold hardy, so it killed the whole thing. So that's why I periodically bring it inside, take it outside, and that's why it's got some of these more interesting, spindly, tall green arms. It tends to want to do, as opposed to these flat and wide ones, it tends to want to make these kind of weird spindly arms. Like even this main one. This was one that started outside, and then we brought it inside. And they develop. It's just some of them are much taller than others because of that. It's interesting. So let's go ahead, and we're going to... What was one cactus will become two. We're going to cut this bad boy. Oh, scary. I have to hold the pot. There we go. Yeah, she's going. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, the whole cactus just probably bounced back about an inch. It's putting a lot of sideways pressure. I had to put this giant rock in here for like about a year just to keep the thing from falling sideways. So this is one of the cool things about cactus and why I love them so much, is what you're looking at right here, and this whole thing in general. It's not just one organism. Each pad is a different generational parent. So while this is the great-great-grandfather, this is its child, these are its children, those are its child's child. So these are all individuals. And what's so interesting to me about cactus is even once you get to, like, say, just this curly individual right here, cactus are asexual in a way also, that you cut this in half, and if you cut it at the stem where it attaches, you'd have not just one individual, but the wounds would seal on one end like a worm, some worms, and it would be two different individuals. It would similar, if not, these two would have genetically identical DNA, and I assume this one would have, like, this parent would have very similar, but you should be able to distinguish the parent from its children genetically. But if you had one plant and you cloned it, cut it in half, those should be genetically identical, like twins. It's quite interesting. That's what's interesting about this plant in general. It just lives in like a big family. Okay, so now that we've liberated what's, gosh, probably a 3.5 foot section of cactus, we're gonna clear a little room. So I have these other cactus pots. So I have this cactus, which is another wild cactus, and I don't know what it is, but I have very malicious cats. And I keep wanting to knock this one over. So it's not, there that goes, not rooted super well yet. So we're gonna take this one out of here. And I have another pot right here. This is a wild cactus from Granite Shoals. Have you noticed it looks a little weird? It's got a little bit of a funky growth right here, because this is a curly locks succulent cactus. This guy, real bouncy. That's why I love it. Curly locks, it's so true. Attached to a native Granite Shoals wild prickly pear cactus, wild Optunia. And what's really interesting is, like, I tried splicing a bunch of these that were about this size. Here's another one. Not quite dead, but it didn't take off quite like this one. You see another little hole down here, that little brown hole? I had another one stuck in there, and it just completely died. And I had a couple other, actually. I think I had some on the bottom side of this cactus too. It's kind of heart-shaped if you look. I wanted it to look like a heart with like little worms growing out of it. But only this one did really well. I'm thinking maybe it has something to do with like the maximum amount of uptake that this one cactus can make up from taking from this one. But as you can see, the cactus isn't dead from having this little parasite, because it started to grow its own little a completely different species of cactus in this one. But this is just what cactus want to do when you grow them inside. They're looking for light. They reach up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our handy dandy hand forged spatula, ladle, and we're gonna move this to the side, and we're gonna combine these. Make a little cactus terrarium, because these cactus are all pretty little, and they're not really taking off quite yet. So I'm gonna put this on the tripod. And I did get a handy dandy new tripod recently, very cool. I'm still kind of figuring it out, but kind of wearing these bulky leather gloves. But yeah, I just thought I'd kind of show off some of my little cactus collection also, and this is my my papaya plant, my indoor papaya plant, also doing quite well. Quite happy with that. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Pardon my my Cloverfield cinematics. Okay. These gloves back on, because all of these things are pokey as get out. Go figure, cactus are pokey. Actually, the curly locks is a smooth skin cactus. And I've noticed that, like, the more wild a cactus, the more prickly it is. Like this one that I pulled out, there's a lot of deer in the area where this cactus is, in Grand Shoals. Very, very prickly cactus. My other cactus over here, no real prickles, since it's not such a, I don't know, it's probably a cultivated cactus that somebody planted in there. So that's why it's not cold hardy, and also has no big thorns because of that. It's another interesting thing about cactus, is that they kind of tend to adjust pretty rapidly to their environment, which is part of what makes them so just gosh darn resilient, really. Okay, so we're gonna put that there, and then we'll give it a little wishing rock. See if the cats can't knock that over. And we have another guy here, and well, this one's pretty dry. We'll go ahead and just stick it in the dirt. Because you know what? Sometimes you think a cactus is dead, but they have quite an amazing propensity to kind of snap back. And if it doesn't, well, then it doesn't. But we can say we tried. Put a little dirt in there, kind of settle them down. Yeah, some good dirt. Okay. Why do my cats like to destroy my plants? Spite. That's my theory. Cats are spiteful creatures. Alright. Bear with me, folks. Some of these cactus I can kind of touch with gloves. Some of them I can't. See, this one's another... Got this one as an ornamental cactus. Here's the mother over here. This one right here. Really pretty. You can kind of see it. Let me close this again a little bit. Really pretty little cactus. When we bought it from H-E-B, I didn't really like it because it had like a plastic flower glued to the top of it. And I was like, wow, this is a really stupid looking cactus. And then eventually the plastic flower fell off, and I realized that it wasn't even part of the cactus. Why do they do that? Who glues a plastic flower to the top of a cactus? It's just wrong. Weird. Like, why? You know what this nature needs? A little fake flower. It's a beautiful cactus. And now that that fake flower isn't on it, it doesn't look fake anymore. It's a beautiful little cactus. It's pretty resilient too. I like to just kind of put them in the margins of some of my other bigger cactus because they're not super aggressive, really. They don't grow super aggressively. I in fact tried to splice that cactus onto a cactus that I knew was cold hardy. This one right here. And as you can see, it's the cactus I stuck it in is completely died. But it looks like this one's kind of on its way out. But sometimes you can plant a cactus inside a dead cactus, and that's not super uncommon to see even in the wild. You see a big bushel of cactus. It's really interesting because the cactus is very porous and spongy. It acts exactly like a sponge. So if there's even if there's moisture in this ground, there's a fair chance that even though this cactus is completely dead, the porous, spongy, dead material in it, kind of like a loofah when you scrape away all the the organic material, it can still kind of wick that water up to this cactus, and even though it's not even its original parent cactus, it still might be able to if this little intruder has good enough roots. So that's what I like to experiment with. And then this is just an instance where that worked. The intruding cactus, the succulent, the curly lock succulent, it laid its roots into, and you can even see like a little bulging vein coming out where the roots from the curly locks are basically, and I'm not actually entirely sure if it's the roots or if it's just the skin, like just grafting to each other. I don't know, not sure. Something you'd have to look at pretty closely to find out. Okay, so we have it looks like an empty pot now. Nice. So we're gonna dig this out pretty good because this other cactus that we're planting into it is quite tall indeed. Weep. Hi, reflection. So we got this bucket. So we're gonna just scoop a lot of this stuff out. And the rest he's getting curious. I might need to vacuum the carpet after this. So it looks like it's about halfway. We're gonna go pretty far because I really leaning cactuses, especially if you're gonna have them for like, you know. Oh, I can hear the rocks at the bottom. Okay, it has rocks at the bottom apparently. That's okay. That means we'll pretty much just go all the way down to the rocks then. I probably put that for ballast. Anticipation of growing a monster cactus. Okay. A little spilled dirt, no big deal. Alright, set that down. Now, okay, I'm gonna leave this sitting right here, and I'm going to put my gloves on so I don't have little tiny pokey hairs sticking in my hands, and I'm gonna grab that cactus. Ooh, I tell you what, it's heavy. It's probably, gosh, it's probably all of 25, 30 pounds of cactus, honestly. Okay, this is gonna be fun. So I'm gonna move the camera back a little. Okay. This is it. Still pretty, you know, just this one pad. You could cut just this one pad. That would make a monstrous cactus eventually. So we're starting off pretty good here. We're gonna have a cactus that would have taken probably still a good couple years to grow to this height. So I don't feel bad. I also have like two tall cactuses. Yeah, that's the fun for me. Is I just like to see how monstrous I can make a cactus. I like to splice them too. I have kind of refrained from splicing this one since it's kind of been my baby, and I haven't cut it, I haven't trimmed it, I haven't experimented on it, I haven't spliced anything onto it. But now that there's two of them, I might. Especially since it's wasn't really my decision. The cactus just kind of decided to lay this branch down. I don't know why. It was just too heavy for it. And it was really interesting because this little knob right here, like it ditched one of the pads there. So I assumed, I was like, okay, it's trying to, you know, economically, you know, conservatively get rid of some of the smaller pads, try to balance itself out. And then it just said, you know, screw it. And it just ditched half the plant. Or maybe Minda knocked it over. A little bit of both, probably. But if it wasn't trying to already kind of let go of it, the plant wouldn't have let Minda knock it over, probably. Because they're strong. They grow pretty strong. And even when they're cut or wounded, they're still pretty tough. Cactus are extremely resilient plants. My interest is I'd like to try to do some terraforming, possibly. And I can't help but think that cactus are probably not the best candidate for a species to survive on an alien planet. If anything can make it, if any kind of like macro biologic can make it, you know, multicellular organism that isn't just like some extremophile, I can't help but feel like it would be cactus. They might take a little bit of coaxing. My end goal is to build an environmental chamber and to grow successive generations of cactus in a controlled environmental container. And first I'll start it off at like Earth's atmosphere, Earth's temperature, earth sunlight, and I'll have a lot of cactus. I'll have a bunch of cactus, a very large amount. And then from that controlled environmental container where I'm providing all of the light and atmospheric controls, I'll start to slowly change them, very, very slowly. And we'll just let each cactus, as I mentioned before, the cactus grow like families, like your children grow on your head, and then, your children's children grow on their head. So every generation, like if you take a cactus that's been out, thriving in the light, growing nice and big, if you take it and you put it inside, its children don't grow similarly to its parents because they don't have the same conditions. So if you start slowly changing the environment in a box, and you keep letting each generation of children, each successive generation of cactus change a little more and more, you keep removing the atmosphere, some will die, most will die. In fact, probably 99% of all of them will likely die. But if you have a large enough percentage, like a large enough volume of cactus in there, statistically, it is very overwhelmingly possible, there we go, that one of them would have mutated or changed or just be just a resilient individual, and it'll make it. And you could control the circumstances to a point where you could change the environment so much from one generation to the next that you could get to a point where you could have a cactus living in a controlled environment that if you took it out of that controlled environment and tried to reintroduce it into Earth's environment, it would die. Because at that point, after so many generational changes, it would be accustomed to and expect to live in whatever harsh climate you had slowly acclimatized it to. So that's my end goal. So try to acclimatize some of these cactuses to live in environments that they did not come out of, This Martian atmosphere, for example, obviously has a lot more carbon dioxide and a lot less nitrogen, air, and even pressure. Okay. And then just like that, where there was one, there are two. Oh, yeah. A couple of their little cactus real quick. Here's my Brigdesi, also my other favorite cactus, also known as the Penis Cactus. Go figure why. Ooh, and it's just recently grown this little, a little child on it. So I'm considering cutting that off. And this nobule over here affords me, this cut end affords me a lot of opportunity for splicing. Very interesting splicing. I think I'm gonna let it heal. As you can see, it's got some stress pulling, but it'll heal very nicely, I anticipate. Here's my Chilean cactus. It grows very slowly, and it has this kind of wispy, cottony stuff that grows on the top of it. Grows very slowly, but you can see it's kind of growing that little, it's like almost growing cotton on it. It's from Chile. Plus, it's the most expensive cactus I have. But yeah, those are my cactus. I also have there's a San Pedro back there in the back, and here's one of those porcupine cue ball cactuses. Very synonymous with lots of areas. My twin San Pedros. But yeah, those are my cactus. Go ahead and turn this back on. Actually, let's go take a look in my, and then there was light. Let's go take a look in my closet garden real quick also. Just a little bonus footage. Oh, it's so blinding. Yeah, well, go figure. I'm gonna hold you between my legs. I'm gonna actually have my altar up here too. I don't know if you can see. I like to keep my spirit up there. Yarr. Okay, so yeah. So here we have my little closet jungle, really. And if you take a close look, you can see This is this guy woven in here with the purple heart, my other favorite plant, is a dragon fruit, actually. It's quite unfortunate too, because you can see right there, you see that little broken end. This was attached to that, so it was getting quite tall. It's probably gonna get to a point where it's too tall for even this, but it it broke off, and so I just stuck it back in the ground. I was kind of thinking about trying to it's really interesting, all the different little heads it grows. Really likes the light. I leave it in here 24/7 with the light on. Here's a avocado, indoor avocado. It does quite well. And then for the most part, I'm just trying to propagate a lot of purple heart. This is not Wandering Jew. This is purple heart, and this is my favorite plant. This is probably one of the most resilient, rugged, just tenacious plants you'll ever know. And you know, look at this. Look, someone's been in here. I have pests. My cats love it. So the purple gives kind of like, it's not toxic, but the more purple the plant is, like this tip, it's more astringent. It's got like it's a bitterant. Like you could probably take this and make a pretty effective bitterant with it. But the cats love it. They love it so much. They love most of my plants that I grow, unfortunately. And here's my my sprouted Japanese boxwoods. This is so hard. Sprouting Japanese boxwoods, like, you'd think it'd be so easy, but this took so long. These are like, I don't know, there's a trick. Oh, it's cloudy. I gotta clear this water. There's a trick to it, I'm sure. But there's like 4 or 5 of them in there, and those took like 3 or 4 months for them to sprout. But yeah, here's my little closet garden and my little closet jungle. I might end up doing some more experiments with the purple heart. I'd like to do an experiment where, like, because these are really interesting. You can make them grow really long. I'd like to try to make like a biological pump out of one of these. You can kind of, like the cactus, you can kind of encourage them to grow. Like if they're in low light, they do this thing where they get kind of spindly, and they'll just grow really long. I kind of want to see if I can like attach like a light to a far end, and then have the other end plugged into some water, and see if I can get the plant to use the bright light at one end to pump water essentially to this side. Just gotta find a way to get it out of the leaves. Maybe even just like let it condense on the outside of like a clear glass box, and then just, that'd be interesting, you know. I don't know, I love these plants. They're really great for yards, and like if you have like land that's trying to like fall into like a creek, these are really good. You know, they'll spread really fast, and if you don't want them, they're very easy to kill, you know. Well, to pull out anyway. They're tenacious in that if you clip them at the roots, if you clip them right here, and they still have rhizomes down in their roots, they'll grow back up. Like you can see this little guy right here. Oh, I don't know what that is. That is not purple heart. That's the fun of the closet jungle. Things just kind of grow sometimes. Cats like to come in here. Yeah, that's it. The end. Thanks for sticking out. You know, if you got any questions or comments, you know, drop them, and feel free to subscribe. You know, I'm going to show more stuff like this, do more experiments, and also have some little succulents in here. I do pretty good too. Yeah, I got another Goldilocks succulent. Oh, it's growing pretty well too. Oh my gosh, and here they come. Beep. See you, folks.